Hi everyone. Today our project is to install a ceiling fan and a switch for ceiling fan. We're going to have some fun today, and I think you'll like this project. It's from start to finish. There's nothing on the walls now, and we're going to actually install the switch into the wall. We're going to have to cut sheetrock out. We're going to patch some sheetrock. We're also going to do some painting of the patch. I'm going to show you how to do all that stuff. So when we get done, you're going to feel comfortable that if I can do it, you can do it. So stay tuned. Okay, we've looked at the fan switch in the unit that we're going to be matching. We're going to match this fan switch right here. We made some phone calls. We've got it matched up. It's always nice that when you're installing something, you try to match existing conditions. So that's what we're going to do. Same type of switch, just like this. Okay, this is where the existing light switches are. What we're going to be doing is installing a fan switch next to one of these switches. So we're going to have 3 switches in a row. We're going to end up taking this out of the wall. So I just wanted to show you. We've got 2 switches here now. We're going to add a 3rd one. And you'll see how I do that right now. Okay, what we've done before we do the light switch, we want to turn the breaker off in that room so that we don't electrocute ourselves. In this unit, this is what is called a sub panel. You find your sub panel or your electrical panel to your home and you pull it open, and there'll be a list of your breakers, and what you want to do is you want to find the breaker for that room. Now what we've done is we've turned the light switches on in there, and we can see that from here. So you can look at the breakers, and usually you can see something of a nature of what each breaker is for. Sometimes it's not going to tell you exact, but you may have to start flipping breakers. And so we've already located that it's breaker number 1, so we're going to turn that off. Make sure that stays off. It is. Now we're ready to do our next step in there. Now, if you have a home and if your breakers are outside, if you can't see the area where you're at, you might want to plug an extension cord into that room and install put a radio on or something like that. Or if you have 2 people, somebody can stand there and you can start flipping breakers. Yes, no, or no, no, no. Yes, okay, that's it. So that's just a little bit about that. You want to do just single breakers, and they're usually 20 amp or 15 amp breakers. And you know, main thing is you don't want to get yourself electrocuted. So we're all ready to go, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the switches now. Okay, here's the light switches again. You notice it's just attached with 4 screws. All we're going to do is undo those screws. We're going to take the cover plate off. Okay, once you have the switch plate off, if it doesn't come off, you might want to take a screwdriver and just tap it a little bit, because if this has been painted a second time, and let's say they didn't take the cover plates off, this might be sticky and it might not want to come off. You don't want to jerk on it because it could rip a little bit of the paint off. So you want to be real careful when you do this. So you tap on it a little bit. Once you got it loose, you know, work it around and make sure, because if you just rip it off, you don't want to damage the wall. I've seen it happen several times, so you just want to be careful when you do it. Pull that off. Okay, what we have to do is we have to take this box out. So because of another switch, we've got to cut this out bigger. So what we're going to do is, this box in here was probably installed next to a 2x4. So the 2x4 is either going to run right here or it's going to run over there. So what I'm going to do is I've got a 16 penny nail, and I'm going to poke it in here, right in through here, so it doesn't damage the sheetrock any further. And I'm going to start tapping it in there and see if I hit anything. Okay, see, that goes in all the way, so that tells me there's not a stud right there. So now I'm going to do it on the other side, right here. I'm hitting a stud, so I know a stud's here, so I've got to cut the box in over that way. Okay, next step is we're going to unscrew these light switches. Okay, one more thing, just remember, before you start unscrewing these light switches, make sure your power's off. And I didn't tell you before, but there's 2 light switches here. There's 2 different lights in this room. And so both of these go to different lights. So we're pulling these off so that we can put this cut-in box in. Okay. Okay, now we pulled these light switches out. We're going to get these out of the way. If you can see, there's some wire nuts back in here. We have to get to those wire nuts. We're going to kind of pull out those pigtails out of the wall. So we're going to move the lights. You have to move the light switches away, and you'll see that there's a wire nut there. There's a couple other wire nuts there. So what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to pull the wires from these switches. So you notice on these switches, the wires are connected to these screws. What we're going to do is just undo the screws, and we're going to pull these out of there. And that's our next step. Okay, here's the two wires for the switch that was on the left. Here's the two wires for the switch that was on the left that was connected to the switch. You also notice on the switch, and these wires are black, by the way. You can see a little bit of white, but that's from sheetrock mud or the paint on the wall. These wires should be black. Two black wires to the left switch, two to the right. You also notice there's a ground wire, which generally is just a copper wire attached to the switch by a screw. We're going to take those off next. Okay, we pulled the wire nuts out of the wall like this, and what we're going to do now is we're going to unscrew the wire nuts. We're going to kind of unravel all these wires because we got to get this box out of the wall. So we're going to do that next. Okay, what we're going to do is, this is a little wire tester. We're going to test, now that we got the wire nuts off, we've got the white wires here, all in a bunch, and the black wires here. Now technically these should be off because we turned the breaker off. I want to make sure that they didn't put two different breakers into a junction box. Sometimes they do that. They shouldn't normally do that, but we're just going to check. I'm going to put one of these here, one here, and we'll look at the tester. Nothing's happening. But I'm going to turn the breaker on now and see what we get. Yep, turn the breaker back on. This is just to double check. Oh, right here and right here. Now look and see if you see the orange light go on. Okay, it's on. Is it on, cameraman?
You turn up. Here you go.
See that orange light?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now that we've checked this, it's double sure now to make sure you turn the breaker back off. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to unravel these wires. What we got to do is unravel them. So you can take a pair of pliers, you just grab it and twist them out, and then we're going to separate everything and see what we got. Okay, here was the black wire to the left switch. Here was the one to the right switch. What's important to know is when you get wire, usually you get a black wire, a white wire, and a ground wire in one piece of cabling. That's called 12-2, 14-2, whatever. It's important to see where these wires go so that when you get ready to hook all this back up, you know that this is for your left switch and this one is for your right switch. That's really important as you pull everything apart. So try to keep track of these wires as you can. You can put a little curly Q in it or something, or mark it with a felt tip pin, or put a little piece of masking tape on. I think that's what we'll do. We'll put masking tape on these two black wires so that we can identify them when we get ready to reinstall the light switches. Okay, this box is mounted to the stud here, and I wanted to show you. This is just a single gang box. Looks just like this, except this is a double gang box. You see the nails here. These nails are nailed into the stud. So what we're going to do is we're going to slip a hacksaw in there, and we're going to cut the nails off. If you can imagine these nails going into studs, and I've already kind of cut this back just a little bit, shoved a screwdriver in there, got a little bit of a gap there, and I shine a flashlight in there to verify there's a nail right here and there's a nail right there. So we're going to shove a little hacksaw in there, and we're going to cut those out so that we can pull this box out. I'm going to take this hacksaw and I'm going to use this. What I like about this hacksaw is the hacksaw blade usually fits right here. As you can see, I undid it, and there's a little bar inside of here, and I ran the hacksaw blade in here. So I'm going to turn this around. I'm just going to use this like a little handsaw. I'm going to go in there and cut those nails out. I'm going to just take this in there. I'm going to feel the nail. I'm just going to start sawing it. Just nice and slow, just back and forth. Make sure you got the hacksaw blades facing the right direction when you put it in though. I'm just going to cut those nails off now. Okay, now I'm going to look at this, make sure, see, it's all loose now. It's all loose, ready to take out. Now I have to fish the box out and push the wires back up in there very gently so I don't mess up the wall. So this is kind of tedious and time consuming, but just do a little bit at a time and you'll be able to get it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put this 3-gang switch in this location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure for this box. I'm going to mark the wall out here. Now, I guess I'm going to cut that out now. That will make it easier to get this plastic box out of here. So make sure you measure nice and careful on here, utilizing the little flaps. This is called a cut-in box. We're going to shove that in there, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute, but just wanted to let you know, measure it, cut the sheetrock out first, and then we'll be able to pull this box out. I tried to get the box out, but it's not coming out. It'll give me a little bit more slop and easier if I cut this out first. As you can see, I've marked this out. I want to cut it with this sheetrock saw. This is called a sheetrock saw. I'm just going to cut very carefully, nice and slow. I already kind of checked that there's nothing in the way, but I'm still going to go slow because I don't know if there's something way back in there. It's always better to be safe than sorry, so just nice and slow. Now I got this cut. I'll pull that out. You can see how much more extra room I have now. Now I can slide this box around. I got plenty of room to work. This might have some flanges on the back for the nail holders, so you may still have to get in there with some cutters and cut the plastic box, but at least now you can see where all the wires are. Make sure not to cut any of the wires, and then we're going to work on this box and cut it and bend it and do some different things to it to get it out of here. We're not going to use this box anymore. We're going to throw it away. Okay, another way, this is a stud finder, and another way to find out the stud, if you were wondering why I use the nail method. I mean, the nail method is a good way. You can also get a little stud finder like this that kind of helps you find the studs inside a wall or the ceiling joists. And what you do is you run it across the wall, and lights will come up here. See the red lights? Once it's green, that means that's where the edge of your stud is. From there over this way, if you're sliding it this direction. So the light's green, saying it's ready to go. Now it's green. There's the edge of the stud, and the stud is from there over. Measure over 3/4. There's a little notch here. That's 3/4. You put a little pencil hole there, mark, whatever. That would be the center of a stud. So this is kind of a handy thing if you're doing little projects around the house or handyman type things. It's nice to get one of these, read the directions, and stud finders are a good thing. Here's my tools that I'm going to use for installing the electrical. Material too, actually. I've got 14-2 with ground. This is a cabling wire that I'm going to use to hook up from the light switch to the ceiling fan. And you can get this in different lengths. You can get like a 15-foot, actually a 25-foot piece at the hardware store. You can get 50-footers, you can get 100-footers, and I think you can even get a roll, bigger than that. But measure your project first. Make sure that you get enough electrical wiring. You can always use it for something else, but there's that. Got a wire tester here. I've got some wire strippers. This is for different size gauge wiring. Got a paddle bit. This is a 5/8 paddle bit. You can use a 3/4 inch, 7/8, 1 inch, whatever you got. Just it's got to be big enough to allow your wiring to get up through the top plate and up into the ceiling. Now, if this bit is not long enough, you can get a little extension piece that extends it out, or there's other types of singular bits that are longer. But for this project, we're using that. Got a standard screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, some wire cutters. Now, I'm going to be using a cut-in box, basically like this. It's got the flaps on it. This is for a single gang, for one switch. We've got 2 switches in there now. I'm going to take the 2 switch out. I'm going to use a box like this, except it's for 3 switches, so it's called a 3-gang box. It looks just like this, and it's for cut-in to install a sheetrock wall. We've got light switches in there like this. So we're installing the fan switch to basically match the same type of style light switch. This is a paddle switch, up, down. And right now you've got an existing light plate cover, which is a 2-gang, and we've gotten a 3-gang. So this is what it looks like. So there'll be 3 switches in here, 2 for the lights, 1 for the fan. An assortment of wire nuts. We're going to use reds. We may use yellows. I'm not sure yet. We're going to use some gray ones. These are a little bit bigger than the reds, obviously, as you can see. And these are little crimper things for the ground wires to crimp them together. Might use some of those. We're also probably going to use some staples to attach the Romex cabling in the wall. Got some electrical tape here too. And I may use this electric drill. Probably end up using it for different types of things. You take this out, put the drill bit in there, tighten it up that way, or I can use this to attach screws or whatever I need. Battery operated, comes in handy. Well, I think that's about it. Have fun with your project. Okay, we're going to need to install a wire from our light switches on the wall, and we need to get up to the ceiling for the power for the fan. So on this space here, we don't have an attic up above, so everything we have to do is right here because there's no crawl space up above or anything. So I'm just telling you, we're going to be cutting a patch up here, and then I'm going to put the box up in here, and then we're going to be able to fish the wire from there, down the wall, down to where the light switch is. So that's our next little project to do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, I'm going to cut a test inspection hole up in the ceiling. I'm not quite sure exactly where the ceiling joists are just yet, but the main purpose for that is so that I can figure out how big of a hole to cut, onto how much room I need to fish a wire from the ceiling over to the wall. Okay, before we cut our sheetrock patches out of the ceiling and the wall, in order to run our sheetrock backing and our electrical, very important, make sure you wear your eye goggles. You want to do that so when you're cutting your sheetrock with your sheetrock saw, you don't get the sheetrock falling down into your eyes. Be safe, not sorry. Okay, we cut the inspection hole up on the ceiling, and I made a determination exactly where we want the ceiling fan to be located. I cut this hole up here, but I made it smaller originally so I could see what's up there. And then what I ended up doing was I moved over and I had to cut some other holes over here because, as you remember, there's no ceiling, there's no attic space up here. So I had to cut in a little hole here to fish my wire down through here because we have to get a wire from the fan location down through the wall. And here's our patch here to get the wire down the wall, down to our light switch. And I've already put some sheetrock backing in there, and I've run the wire. As you can see, this is the new wire I pulled down there. I made it plenty long, and I also let a little stub up at the ceiling. Again, I've already run my wire up on the ceiling. And what I'm going to install up there is a pancake box. And a pancake box is just a very thin box. It's only a 1/2 inch thick. I don't need a full thickness box up there. Sometimes these are 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw that right up to the joist. I've got a piece of backing up there already, and I'm going to run the wire through there, attach this, and then the ceiling fan's going to attach to that. So I put some backing up there, and I'm ready to do my sheetrock patches. I wanted to just point out, after I made the inspection hole, I made a determination how big I wanted to make this, and then I cut this out. Now, I was very careful to cut the sheetrock out because I didn't know what's in the ceiling. As you can see, there's two wires up here and they're fairly low to the ceiling. If I would have just started cutting really fast with my sheetrock saw, I could have nicked these wires. So I was really careful because you never know what's up in the ceiling. Since we couldn't get up in the attic, I always suggest on your sheetrock saw, you're going to utilize a sheetrock saw. You're not going to use an electric sawzall. I would never suggest you use an electric sawzall up there because, I mean, you can cut that out. It makes a lot of dust, first off. Secondly, you could hit a wire up there and then you're going to have major problems. So what I usually use, I use the sheetrock saw, and I use kind of a dull sheetrock saw. And then I kind of go by feel and try not to cut up there too far. So just be real careful when you're cutting your holes for your sheetrock patches. Okay, there's one important part that I need to tell you about right now. After you cut your patches, after you cut your holes in your sheetrock and stuff, very important, keep your scrap pieces that you took out. Because if you don't have any paint to match up on your walls, you need to have a patch piece like this. Then you can take it to the paint store and they can match it up. Now, if you don't do that, it's very tricky on how to patch or match your paint. So very important. Okay, what we're going to do, this is called a cut-in box. This is a 3-gang, which means there's enough room for 3 switches in here. Cut the sheetrock out. We're ready to fish all these wires into this box. As you can see, there's knockouts in the back of here. We're going to knock these out. We're going to gently fish these in. It's going to take, it's kind of tedious, but it's well worth it in the long run. And how this cut-in box works is it fits into the wall. You got some little flanges here that fit right up against the sheetrock. There's these little screws here. Once we get this all the way back in, we put our Phillips screwdriver on here and we start tightening that screw. And what happens is, if you can see, it pulls up a little flap. So we've got 2 flaps on the top and 2 flaps come down on the bottom. And those fit behind the sheetrock, and what we're going to do is then snug up these screws, and this pulls in from the back, and that's what holds everything. So we're gonna work on that next. Now, as you can see, we've got quite a few wires in here. I just wanted to kind of touch on this a little bit first. Sometimes if you only have 1 switch in here, and if you're going to add a 2nd switch, obviously you don't have as many wires as this. Don't let these wires, I don't want these wires to scare you. We've already marked for the switches from before. This was a switch, this was a switch over here. That one's going to go to the far left, this one's going to the center, and our new fan switch is going to go here. But I just wanted to tell you, it's like I say, it's kind of tricky to fit all this stuff in here. I will be explaining that once I get these into the box, but I don't want this to keep you from doing your project. You never are going to know how many wires you get until you pull the light switches out of your box. If you feel kind of uncomfortable with it, you can get an electrical book at the hardware store, or you can show this video to a friend of yours who's maybe a little bit versed on electrical, and you can have him wire up your switches or whatever, and you can do the rest of it. But like we got five sets of wires in here existing, and we've got the new one that we've installed. So we got 6 sets of wires in here. Generally, you might have 3 sets, 4 sets of wires, something like that. A little bit easier to work with, but just wanted to kind of touch bases on that to let you know it's not all the time you've got this many wires that you have to mess with at the light switches. Okay, I just want to show you something. This is just for directions. This is just a single gang box, but what I wanted to point out is when these little flappers come up on the back side of here, make sure that you got enough clearance here for your sheetrock, the thickness of your sheetrock. If you have to, you can unscrew these a little bit, but once you get it in and you start tightening up these little screws, the important thing is to make sure that these flaps go all the way up. Now they'll just automatically go up when you tighten that screw. It just flips up like that. But what you want to make sure is if there's not enough room, what happens is this could just go up a little bit like that, and then you tighten that thing and your box is still loose and you're thinking, how come it's like that? So be careful when you do that. So I just want to show you that. Okay, as you can see now, the box is in, and I gently pulled all the wires back down through the box, and it took a little bit of doing, but I got it in there. It's really important to know that when you tighten up the screws for those little flaps, you can see there's 2 screws there and the 2 down at the bottom. When you tighten those, it's got to go by feel. You don't want to tighten them up too much, because all that's holding this is a little plastic flap. So if you tighten it up too much, you could break this tab off or bend it out a little bit, and your box is in there. So you just want to make these snug, and you'll see. Line that up, make sure it's kind of nice and straight, and then tighten that down. Okay, what I wanted to show you was the wire that we're installing. What we're installing is a 14-2 Romex, it's called. What that means is the white wire, which is a neutral, and the black wire, which is the hot wire, is 14 gauge, and then it also comes with a ground wire that does not have any sheathing, plastic around it, and then it's run into a sheathing. So at the store, what we've decided for this project is we need 14-2 wire, so that's what we're installing, and just want to make sure you realize that. You could do 12-2 or 14-2, and there you go. Okay, now that I've run my electrical wiring for up here, I am ready to install my little pancake box for the electrical. Okay, now you can see that I installed the pancake box right up against the wood. I ran my wire through here, got it nicely stapled up there, and for right now I'm just going to wrap this wire in here. It's not hot or anything. I'm just going to push it in here like that. I'm just going to leave that here until I'm ready for it, after I install the sheetrock. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to install some sheetrock patches. Okay, this completes the rough electrical. We've got the wire, as you saw, we got the wire down into the new box now. We've got the junction box, we got the pancake box up high, and that's what you call the rough electrical, just getting the wires in. We'll do the finished electrical after we finish up. We've got to, as you can see, we're going to do some sheetrock patches here now and all that kind of stuff. But we'll be back to you to show you the rest of the electrical later. Hi again. I just wanted to show you what I wear every day to work. This is one of the most important tools I use. It's just a back brace. I put that on before I put my nail bag on. It keeps the weight kind of central on me, because my nail bag's pretty heavy. I don't know how heavy it is, 20, 25 pounds maybe. I generally carry all this, even if I don't use all this stuff. I feel comfortable with it on. I know where all my tools are in case I need one at a split second. So I'm going to go over what I carry. You don't have to carry all these tools, but I'm just telling you what I do. I'm a general contractor. I do lots of work, commercial tenant improvements, remodels, that kind of thing. Coordinate with different subcontractors. But I always kind of, this is my garb that I kind of wear. I first carry a hammer. It's just a finish hammer, smooth head, not very long handle, not a framing hammer by any means. This is just something that I use each day. Got just a small little screwdriver. Can't believe how many times I've used this little thing. It comes in handy. I always try to keep it sharp too, by the way. Here I've got a scratch awl. Nice point on there. I can mark things. I can hit it and make little holes for plastic anchors, that kind of thing, in the wall. I've got the kind with the metal head here, because as I'm hitting it with the hammer, I don't want to break off the wooden handle. Some of them don't come with the metal. Look for the metal on the head. And as you can see, everything has a place in my nail bag. So every time I pick up my nail bag, I can feel around, check, make sure all my tools are there before I get out onto the job site, get up on a ladder and find out, oh, where's my screwdriver, where's this, where's that. Okay. Got a sheetrock knife here. I've got the kind with the reversible, or with the retractable lever here. I always try to keep in a sharp blade. It's got a carrying case inside here. You can unscrew this, and I've got sharp blades in here, usually 4 or 5. I keep a few dull ones in here too, just in case I need one, and if I know it's going to get dull, I put a dull one in there, don't use one of my sharp ones. So I always retract this when I put it in my nail bag. I don't want to keep it sharp like this. I might cut myself if I don't retract. So I got that. Got a standard screwdriver I carry. I try to keep this one in pretty good shape. Got a Phillips screwdriver I carry. I also have another standard screwdriver. As you can see, the tip's kind of bent on it and frayed off. I use this to bang on and that kind of stuff. I don't use this for a screwdriver. I've got my tape measure here. I use a 30 footer. You can get these 20 footers, 25, 30. I like the 30 footer because lots of times when I measure, I have to extend this way out, and I can extend it out further without it bending and snapping down. It's got a lock on it. This works out really well. Got some tin snips here. I use these a lot too. I've got the curved style. There's about 3 different styles. There's the yellow handled ones with the straight handle, and there's also some green ones. I find the red ones I can do pretty much anything I want. I also carry a sheetrock saw. It's a little bit dull, but I use this for lots of things. Got a nail puller. I use this to dig out nails. I also use it as a pry bar. I can use this side. I can also use this side here as a pry bar. Got a chalk line. Pull that out, snap lines. Like to make sure I've got chalk in there. I've got the type, it's a little bit fatter than normal. That way when I have it out really far, I don't have to turn it as much to get it in. With the other style, you have to turn it really quick. This one, you turn pretty fast and it retracts faster. That's everything on that side. Over here, I use the rubber gloves for quite a few different things when I do demo. I always keep a rag handy, wipe my hands off if I get grease on my hands or perspiration, whatever. Keep what I'm working on clean. Some electrical tape, that comes in handy for quite a few different things. And I have just different knick-knack odds and ends, screws, anchors. You never know when you need just one little thing. So I just keep whatever I accumulate, keep in there. I also carry a little container like this. Got some little earplugs in here. They're just plastic. They used to be connected to a string, but I use these. My ears get kind of sensitive, so when I cut things and that kind of thing, I'll put those in my ears. Yep, still got some more things to show you. Got a little crescent wrench that comes in really handy. Just a small one. Pair of pliers. Carry those. Lots of good things with that. I carry a rasp. It's a wood rasp. There's 4 different edges on it. I can file things smooth. I can use this for metal and wood. There's the rough side here and the smooth side here. This comes in really handy, believe it or not. And then this side is the same thing, except this has a rounded edge instead of a flat edge. I got some wire cutters. Those come in handy for all kinds of things to cut when I'm demoing or using electrical wire, that kind of thing. And then I carry some nails, just odds and end nails at the bottom there. A carpenter's pencil. I use a carpenter's pencil. I don't like to use regular pencils. And then I always keep this sharp. You just use your sheetrock knife and just go down, and you want to keep that nice and sharp. I like to keep a pen in here too. Whenever I need to make some notes on my clipboard, whatever, I've always got a pen handy. And I've got a felt tip pen too. Lots of time I work with metal. I can mark on the metal with this, and different things. What I do is, when I keep it in my nail bag, I keep it upside facing down so that the ink always goes down here and it doesn't dry out. I've also got some nail sets. Sometimes I use those to bang on, other times, you know, for finished nails and that sort of thing. I just carry two. I also have some a wire tester. Got a little chisel here. It's a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch. Try to keep that nice and sharp. Lots of times I do some mortising on door locks and hinges and all kinds of things. You can mark things with this. Comes in handy. I also carry a couple putty knives. As you can see, this one's pretty well worn and rusty. I use this to bang on and stuff like that. I don't use this to putty up holes in the walls for patching and painting or anything. I use this for everyday type items in construction work. I've got a little bit sharper one that sometimes comes in handy. Got some wire strippers, and that's about it. So I just wanted to let you know what a contractor like myself uses from day to day. You may not use all these things on your different projects, but you never know when something's needed. So if you want to get a nail bag, this nail bag here is a nylon style nail bag. You can get these in leather as well. I tend to like the nylon ones. They're a little bit lighter. The leather ones, when they get sheetrock dust on them and stuff, just feels funny for me. So I like to do the leather ones. It's got some different pouches on there too, and that kind of thing. So there you have it. Thanks a lot.
Do you have a question about anything on how to around your house that you need Joe to help you with? Hey, send me a line and I'll get back to you. I want to help you with your projects.